Okay, this week's Parsha, Moses commands to erect the tabernacle.
Parshat Shemini.
So let's look at source number 1. ויהי ביום השמיני, it was on the 8th day, קרא משה לאהרון ולבניו ולזקני ישראל. Moshe called to Aaron, to his sons, to the elders of Israel. ויאמר משה, and Moshe said, זה הדבר אשר ציווה השם, this is what God commanded, תעשו, this you should do, וירא אליכם כבוד השם. And then you're going to see God. You want God to come down? Do exactly what I told you. Build the tabernacle. You build the tabernacle, you'll be able to see God. Source number 2, they're trying to see God. 7 days they've been erecting the tabernacle, bringing the sacrifices. God is not coming down.
Good.
ויאמר אל אהרון, so Moshe says to Aaron, קח לך עגל בן בקר לחטאת, take a calf for a sin offering, ועיל לעולה, and a ram for a burnt offering, תמימים, they should be without blemish, והקרב לפני השם, and bring in front of God. Yeah? So it looks like this is the problem. Why? You didn't bring this. You didn't bring these two sacrifices until now. Now that you bring these two sacrifices, everything is going to be good. So Rashi immediately asks, what's so special about these sacrifices? So Rashi says, קח לך עגל, take the calf, להודיע, to say, שכיפר לו הקדוש ברוך הוא, that God forgave Aaron. Why did God need to forgive Aaron? For the golden calf. על ידי עגל זה, על מעשה העגל שעשה. By this calf, he's going to atone for the calf that Aaron did. It wasn't on purpose, everybody knows, but nevertheless, he did it. It was his hands who did it. He was involved in it. Like it says, the leader is responsible, so he has to bring something. It left an impression. The sin left an impression.
So it looked like he did sin by this.
I wouldn't
By
go.
Rashi,
Yeah, I wouldn't go so much for he did sin. I would say there was something wrong in what he did.
He did something.
Something which is not good.
Okay.
Something happened which is not good. I don't know if you can call it sin.
Okay.
Leave that on the side.
Okay.
Okay? Source number 3. ויבוא משה ואהרון אל אוהל מועד, and Moshe and Aaron came to the meeting tent, ויצאו, and then they went out of the meeting tent, ויברכו את העם, and they blessed the nation, and then וירא כבוד השם אל כל העם, and then God descended. This is the 8th day. God comes down. ותצא אש מלפני השם. How did he know that God descended? The fire came from the heavens. ותאכל על המזבח, and it ate the sacrifices on the altar, את העולה ואת החלבים, the burnt offering, the fats. וירא כל העם, the entire nation saw, וירונו ויפלו על פניהם. And they celebrated and they bowed down. Very exciting time. Rashi says again, why ויבוא משה ואהרון אל אוהל מועד? Why did Moshe ואהרון had to come to the meeting tent? It says, if God wanted to come down, God should come down. First he says, you send Moshe and Aaron to the meeting tent.
They weren't in Oil Moed? I thought they were in Oil Moed.
It says
they did all this.
Maybe they did some, but they had to go back in. Whatever happened to it, you see, Moshe and Aaron wanted to go back. So it says, Rashi asks a question, what was the necessity for them to go to the meeting tent again? So there was no necessity. So Rashi explains, ויבוא משה ואהרון וגומר, and Moshe and Aaron came, כיוון שראה אהרון, because in that day, exactly like the other 7 days, what did Aaron do? ראה אהרון שקרבו כל הקורבנות, he brought all the sacrifices. ונעשו כל המעשים, and everything was done. ולא ירדה שכינה לישראל, and still God is not here. God did not come down. היה מצטער ואומר, he said like this, יודע אני, says, I know, שכעס הקדוש ברוך הוא עליי, that God is angry at me. And the reason why God is not coming down, ובשבילי לא ירדה שכינה לישראל. I know that the only reason why he's not down here is what? Is me. אמר לו למשה, so he told to Moshe, Moshe אחי, says Moshe my brother, The opposite. Moshe, he said to Moshe, Moshe my brother, kach asita li. He says, this is what you did to me. Why am I here? He's asking Moshe. I shouldn't be the one who's doing here. It shouldn't be me. In other words, who should it be?
You.
You should do it. Yeah, the reason why God is not coming down is because I have a blemish. I know why it's not coming down. It's because my blemish. It says, what are you doing? I'm coming in, I can come in a million more times. You know what's going to happen? It's not going to come down. You know why? Because I have a blemish. So what happened? Miyad nichnas Moshe imo. Moshe came in with him. Ubikshor rachamim. He asked God. Yeah, into the meeting tent. We don't know if the Holy of Holies or just the Holy. Veyarda Shechina liYisrael. And then the Shechina came to the Jewish people. So before we even continue, just a few concepts to keep in mind. The story of the building of the tabernacle is a central story in the Torah. We have many parshiot that deals with the building of the temple. 5, 6. Yeah, just about that. God dwelling between them. What does the tabernacle do? The tabernacle is the thing that connects heaven and earth. It's a place where you can see godliness. That connects. What do you mean? Let's see what atonement is. You were separated from God. Okay. You bring a sacrifices. Korban, mekarev otcha legod. It connects you. Mekarev otcha, the korbanot, mekarev otcha to God. The only thing is, think about the tabernacle like a space shuttle. The first space shuttle that they wanted to send. Now, even if you have the prints and you do everything according to the prints, if one small little screw is not tight, one small little thing is not there, you try to send it up to heaven, you know what's going to happen? It's going to blow up. And it blew up thousands and thousands and thousands of times before the first one was able to go out straight. One small little detail is off, you wouldn't be able to do it. Even the pilot who takes it, he doesn't do one small little thing, the whole thing is no good. It has to be exactly, that's the whole idea of the tabernacle. That's why it's mentioned so many times. It's the way to bring godliness down to earth. It's not a simple thing, it's a complicated thing. And if any of the materials that you build the shuttle with is not the best material, it's second rate or third rate, it's going to fail, and the whole thing is down the drain. So everything that you need to get the best pilot, you need to get this is what Aaron's selling to Moshe. You don't have the best pilot over here. You want to, such an endeavor to connect Jewish people and God, you can do it. I am second rate. It's not going to connect, it's not good enough.
I agree with you.
That's what he's saying. Now, and you can see that this is what they did for 7 days. 7 days, they erecting everything, they tightening, they checking, they putting the things up, and what? Nothing happens. It doesn't even go up. A second time, nothing. Third time, nothing. And now they check every little thing. If something was not good, they check, they make sure that it's the right way. And it's still not working. They bring the sacrifices the right way. They're doing this the right way. Maybe I wasn't quick enough yesterday, and nothing is working. Only on the 8th day, we have takeoff. Only on the 8th day, God actually comes onto earth. That's what happens. That's what the idea. Okay. So let's start with the Rebbe. On page 5, בהתחלת הפרשה, in the beginning of this week's parsha, מסופר שעל אחרי 7 ימי מילואים, that after the 7 days that they erected the tabernacle, שבהם הקים משה רבנו את המשכן והקריב קורבנות, built the tabernacle, he brought the sacrifices, עדיין לא שרתה השכינה במשכן. God did not come down to the Jewish people yet. וכיוון שראה אהרון שקרבו כל הקורבנות ונעשו כל המעשים, now Aaron saw that everything was done, and everything done was the right way, ולא ירדה שכינה לישראל, and the Shechina did not come down to the Jewish people, what was Aaron thinking? היה מצטער ואמר, he told Moshe, שישנו עדיין הבלבול דחטא העגל. It says, I know what's the problem. It doesn't matter what you say. There's a problem down here and it's only going to come down. What's the problem? The sin. The sin that my hand was involved in. The golden calf, that is the problem why God is not coming down. ולכן, אף שהמשכן עומד על תילו, it says, it doesn't matter now. Everything is good. We don't have a pilot. The pilot that takes it have a blemish. We need to do something for the pilot. The pilot is the problem. Not everything else is good. הקרשים והיריות עם כל הכלים, everything is good. The shuttle is fine. ומשה ואהרון עמהם, אין עדיין השחת שכינה. And even you and me, and we did tshuva, and we did everything, and it's still not enough. You know why? Because on the Jewish people, there's still this blemish. What blemish? The golden calf. Says that blemish is here, whether I'm responsible, whether they're responsible, it doesn't matter. It's here, and God is not coming down this way. We need to do something about it. ואז אמר למשה לאהרון, so Moshe says, you know what? You're right. That's the problem. I didn't realize it, but because you said it, now I realize it. So therefore, what should we do? קח לך עגל, now we should take a calf, and we're going to burn it. Just by the way, it's not related so much over here, but since we learned it in Tanya, I'm just going to mention it. You remember we said that when a person sins, when he eats non-kosher food, even though he does tshuva, it remains in the body. The impression remains in the body. Even the energy, over here it's the same thing. It says the impression, they did tshuva, but the impression remains in the body. What do we need to do? We have to take a burnt offering. We need to take this bull and burn it completely. In other words, remove completely that material from the world. That's not so. That's called the idea of the burnt offering. You have to burn the flesh completely. In other words, there was a blemish on the calf. Something remained in it. We have to burn it completely. That's the idea. להודיע in that שמכפר לו הקדוש ברוך הוא על ידי עגל זה על מעשה העגל. And that's God, when you burn completely, that even the impression out, then you don't have the blemish anymore. באמרו זה הדבר אשר ציווה השם וירא עליכם כבוד השם. It says once you do that, then is God going to reveal. In other words, you have to remove the blemish of the golden calf. As long as it stays, there's an impression of it, you won't be able to. על ידי קורבנותיו ועבודתו של אהרון תשרה שכינה בכם. And it's not Moshe who's supposed to do it, it's you, Aaron, who's supposed to do it. In other words, the problem you thought it was because of you has nothing to do with you. It has to do with you because of the golden calf. But the impression, you did everything you could. Now it's your job to take the impression away, and after that it's your job to bring God now, not mine.
In a way, telling him, I know a way to fix it, to fix that problem,
very
so
good.
God will come down.
Very good. And it's not me, it's not a problem in the pilot. It's the problem in the golden calf. That's right.
Burn it completely.
That's right. Burn it completely. That's the point.
Yeah.
כמו שכתוב, and then it says, this is the burning completely. ותצא אש מלפני השם, and a fire came from in front of God, and because the fire came and burnt completely, there was nothing left. Then vayar ha'am, then the nation saw the godliness, vayaronu, and they were happy. That's it. God forgave them. For what? For the golden calf. בראותם שהשכינה שורה במעשה ידיהם. Now we can see that God is down here in this world. Okay. וביאור העניין. So we need to understand. We have to understand this in an esoterical way. It's a very interesting thing over here. מובא במפרשים, the commentaries explain, שטענתם של הערב רב, it says, what is the ערב רב? You remember with the golden calf? What did they want? These multitudes. The guys who came, שאמרו לאהרון, נעשה לנו אלוקים אשר ילכו לפנינו. They came to Aaron, they says, make for us a God, that God is going to be between an intermediary.
Connector.
He says, לא הייתה עניין של כפירה במציאותו יתברך. It says, they didn't want to go against God, God forbid. They didn't. They didn't say there's no God. They said we need something to connect us to God. We used to have something. His name was Moshe. Now this Moshe is no longer here, so we need something else. לומר אני ואפסי עוד. It's not that they say, okay, we're going to do whatever we want to do whatever. No, we want to be religious, we want to do this, but we're missing a connection. כי אם שצריך להיות לדעתם, it says that according to their understanding, what there needs to be, ממוצע בין הקדוש ברוך הוא לבני ישראל. There needs to be an intermediary between God and the Jewish people.
That's what they had all the time, Moshe.
That's right. And not only that, now we're going to learn philosophically, we're going to think about it philosophically. What's wrong with what they're asking? So let's look inside. Be'amram, and this is, it says, and you know what? And they say, we are right. You wrong, Moshe, and we right. He says, why? He says, Moshe, when you asked to see God's face, what did God tell you? Lo yir'eni ha'adam v'chai. It says, you cannot see me. In other words, a Jew cannot connect to God while he's alive. It says, you yourself said it. There's no way to connect to God while the person is alive. It says, אין יכול בשר ודם להתקשר עם קדושת האלוקות. It says a person cannot connect to godliness. It says we're human beings. What do you mean connect to God? God, connect to what? God is no face, no picture, no nothing. What are we supposed to connect to? It says connect to God. What am I connecting? There's no words.
They were looking for another Moshe, no?
Yeah.
Moshe was connecting them.
בא בשעה שלא יראני האדם וחי. And it says even you, Moshe, you complained, you wanted to connect to God, and God told you what? There's no way to connect to me. And this is, where was it? When Moshe was a Moshe, the holiest part, Moshe was trying to connect to God, and God says there's no way for you to connect to me. So if there's no way to connect to him, what are we going to do over here? הסדר הוא, and this is what they said, טענו הם, שהאדם צריך להתעסק בענייני העולם. It says God said, go through nature. That's what God said. God established. If God said, live in miracles, we understand we would live in miracles. We rely on God, and God connects everything. It's a miracle. But God says, no, you have to go through nature. You have to go to work. When you have a business deal, you have to think. You cannot just, I rely on God, everything's going to be fine. No, think. What's the best strategy? What's the best advertisement? What's the best, whatever it is. A business has to go according to what? Nature. According to nature. צריך להתעסק, ובינו לקדוש ברוך הוא צריך להיות ממוצע. So it says, between that and God, there needs to be an in-between. שזהו העגל. It says, this is what the calf represents. It's not something outside. God says to rely on nature. Right? So this is the calf. להביא את בקשותיהם של בני ישראל לקדוש ברוך הוא. We can complain to nature, and nature will complain to God. Take it forwards. ולהביא את ברכתו של הקדוש ברוך הוא למבקש. So let's understand what was wrong. ועל דרך מה שכתב הרמב"ם. It says, this is according to what the Rambam wrote. בנוגע להתחלת העניין בעבודה זרה. When the Rambam explained the beginning of idol worship. It's halacha. Halacha by the Rambam. By the way, it's an interesting thing. If we ever learn the Rambam is just like the Mishnah. You remember all the Mishnayot that we do every morning? It only says laws. It doesn't say anything else. It doesn't discuss nothing else. Law. What the law is, boom, 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 boom. Law after law after. Rambam is the same thing. It's a book of laws. All of a sudden, when it comes to Avodah Zarah, we're going to learn the Rambam now. Rambam has a whole story of Avodah Zarah. And the question all the commentaries ask, Rambam, why are you telling us the whole story of idol worship? Tell us the laws of idol worship. You don't have to give us the history of idol worship. We don't care. So it says, you should care. Why? Because there's something you don't understand about what is idol worship. And that's why the Rambam introduced it. We're going to see now. לא שהם אומרים שאין שם אלוקה. It says, it's not like the other nations that believe in other gods, they're saying there's no God. אלא טעותם הייתה, what was the mistake? שאמרו, הואיל והאלוקים ברא כוכבים אלו וגלגלים להנהיג עולם, since God created all the powers of nature, the stars, and the powers of nature, ראויים הם לשבחם ולפארם. You have to go, נפלאות הטבע. You have to go, the wonderment of God's creation. You have to give it honor. Look, the stars, the moon. This is what the idol worshipper says. This is the wonderment of God. Look at the sun, look at the stars, look at the universe. היינו, שהכוכבים והמזרתון להיות מחצה בשמיים ומחצה בארץ. It says, since they are half spiritual, half physical, all these things, שהרי נמצאים בשמיים ואורם מגיע עד הארץ. How are they half physical, half spiritual? Because they are in the heavens, but they affect earth. The moon is in the heavens, but over here there's tides. The sun is in the heaven, but over here there's warmth. So they're half and half. יכולים הם להיות ממוצאים שעל ידם יבואו בקשות בני אדם. Therefore, we can go to nature, to the powers of nature, and we can refer to nature as an intermediary between us and God. ועל ידם ימשכו השפעות מלמעלה. And through them, we're going to take all the goodness from God. And by the way, this is the way we look now. God tells her, I'm going to bless you in all that you do. God says.
Yeah, but they could do Ratzon Hashem. They do what God wants. They have power.
God gave them the power. God gave them the power. Okay. That's exactly what he's saying. That's exactly what he's saying. God gave them the power. So therefore, they're in intermediaries. It looks like, excuse me, now that you think about it, what's wrong? And the Rambam is going to explain it even better. Let's look at the Rambam. Beyemei Enosh, this is source number 4. In the days of Enosh, Enosh is with the grandson of Adam. So it's Adam, then Shet, then Enosh, grandson of Adam. Ta'u bnei Adam ta'ut gadol. They made a mistake in that generation. V'nivara, and a foolish mistake. Atzat chachmei oto ador. This was the sages of that generation came out with it. Ve'enosh atzmo min hato'im haya. And Enosh was one of the people who made a mistake. Says, now, you have to remember, this is the grandson of Adam. If he made a mistake, it wasn't a foolish mistake. But, so we need to understand, let's understand first of all, what was he thinking, and then, after we understand what was he thinking, we're going to have a problem, we're going to say, hey, it makes sense. What was he thinking? So let's see. וזו הייתה טעותם. So let's look at what was the mistake, according to the Rambam. אמרו, הואיל והאלוקים ברא כוכבים אלו וגלגלים להנהיג את העולם. It says, who created nature? Who created the powers of nature? God did. ונתנם במרום, and who put them in the skies, in the heavens, וחלק להם כבוד, and he calls them my servants, והם שמשים המשמשים לפניו, and they are his servants, and he calls them my servants, ראויים הם לשבחם ולפארם, ולחלוק להם כבוד. It's only befitting that we give them honor. And it's, think about it. You go to a restaurant, right? The chef is down there in the kitchen. He worked very hard. He made for you the delicious food. And the food comes up, and the waiter gives it to you. Who do you say thank you to?
And the waiter gives it to me?
The waiter gives it to you, the food, right? But the waiter is not the one who prepared the food. Who do you say thank you to?
To the waiter?
To the waiter.
You don't go to the tamach.
Exactly. You don't go to the chef and you say to the chef, because you don't see the chef. The chef is not here. Who do you see? The one who gives it to you. That's the one you see.
The same thing now you're telling me.
Oh, but
tell them thank you.
Tell them thank you. That's right.
Go to the chef.
The mayor is giving you a what do you call it? Biden is giving money to the mayors, and the mayors is giving money to you personally, gives you a check. Who do you say thank you to? Biden is in Washington. You're over here with the mayor. Do you have to thank the mayor?
Got you.
You have to thank the mayor. The mayor is the one who's giving it to you. I know that Biden is above and everything, but the mayor is giving you the money. Say thank you. It's only beneficial. What is he? Nobody is top level. Somebody is giving you something.
That's job for
him, he's the servant. He represents God.
Yeah. I see.
So far, so good. Represent God. וזהו רצון הקל הברוך הוא. And he says, and not only that, if you don't give him honor, you're going against God. Imagine the mayor gives you, say, thank you very much, have a nice day, and you go. No, Biden is going to be upset. He says, the mayor gave you the money, say thank you. וזהו רצון הקל הברוך הוא לגדל ולכבד מי שגידלו וכיבדו. כמו שהמלך, it says just like the king, רוצה לכבד העומדים לפניו. The king wants to make sure that all his ministers are going to be honored, not only me, also the ministers, like Achashverosh with Haman. He says everybody should bow down to him. No, he doesn't care about Haman. He says they're bowing down to Haman. It means they're bowing down to whom?
To the king.
To me. They're not bowing down to Haman, they're bowing down to me. וזהו כבודו של מלך. It says, this is my honor. When you bow down to Haman, you bow down to me. So far, it makes sense.
So good. You convinced me.
So far so good, right?
It's very convincing.
כיוון שעלה דבר זה על ליבם, it says, since this stupidity, remember how he calls it in the beginning, the Ramam, this stupidity went into their heart, התחילו לבנות לכוכבים היכלות. It says, so the first generation, it wasn't so bad. The Rambam explains. This is what they were thinking. They're just giving honor to the servants. But then, since God is not seen, God is not in the picture. God is in Washington, far away. We live here in Tucson. We never see him.
Now we have to...
התחילו לבנות כוכבים, היכלות, ולהקריב להם קורבנות, ולשעבחם ופלריו ודברים, להשתחוות למולם. So after a few generations, people forgot that there's a God behind, that it's the only servants, and they thought, like in Russia, you know, like when it starts to be money under the table with everybody, no, as long as I give my own oligarch money, I'm going to be fine. I don't need Putin. You know, Putin is, they forgot that Putin, they didn't see Putin already for 20 years, we don't know who Putin is. Yeah? So they forgot that there's a Putin over there and you need to give him respect also.
Everything is keep working.
That's right.
Putin is there.
But you forgot.
The system is
The
working.
system is working, very good. כדי להשיג רצון הבורא בדעתם הרע, וזה העיקר להיות כוכבים. It says, this is how idol worship came about. This is the process. ואחר שערכו הימים, and then it says, that was the first step. Second step, עמדו בבני האדם נביאי שקר, then stood all kinds of liars and charlatans, ואמרו שהקל ציווה עליהם עבדו כוכב פלוני, יושקה came up and says, I'm God, you know, או על כוכבים והקריבו לו ונסחו לו כך וכך, or another guy came up and he says, no, God came to me and he's the sun, or God came to me and he's the moon, or God came to me and he's the trees. Each one of in own. ובנו לו היכל ועשו צורתו כדי שתראו כל האדם. They started to make shapes of the idol worships and started bowing down to them. So then הנשים והקטנים, it started with whom? With people with small brains. They didn't understand that there's science, the things behind. ושאר עמי הארץ, and the simple folks, הוא מודיע להם צורה שבדה מליבו. He starts inventing whatever he wanted, this person, והוא אומר, זוהי צורת הכוכב פלוני שהודיעו בנבואתו. It says, this is the shape that I saw in my prophecy, whatever shape is it. והתחילו על דרך זה לעשות צורות בהיכלות ותחת האילנות. They started to making all kinds of structures under the trees, ובראשי הערים, and the heads of the mountains, על הגבעות, ומתקבצים ומשתחווים להם, people gathered around of them, ואומרים לכל העם שזו הצורה מטיבה ומרעה, וראוי לעבדה וליראה ממנה. It says, oh, you want to go to war? This is the good one. You want to have a lot of crops? This is the good one. You want to get married? This is the good one. This is the marriage ceremony. וכהניהם אומרים להם שבעבודה זרה זאת תרבו ותצליחו ועשו כך וכך ואל תעשו כך וכך. And that's how all the idol worship started. That's how it started. But in the beginning, it looked like the beginning part.
It looked like it making sense.
It makes sense in the beginning. Okay. So let's see what was the problem over here and what don't we like. אמנם בת כל עניינים אלה הם אותות השמיים שעליהם נאמר. But the truth is that all those shapes that we discussed before, what others? By the way, we are talking about idol worship that worked, not idol worship that didn't work. Yeah, does idol worship work? It says, why did they work? Because God gave those powers, and those powers, the nature, they work. They're servants of God. You want heat? You better do something to get heat. And if you go to the priests of heat, they will tell you, you want heat. You have to move from the north to the equator. The more you move further, you get more heat. People didn't understand. They thought everywhere is the same. Yeah, you You move south, you get more heat. So people, we got more heat. Or you'll have to wake up later in the day, you'll have more heat. Whatever the thing is. Yeah. אשר חלק השם ככלותם לכל העמים לאלוקות. Says this is true when it comes to the nations. But it comes to the Jewish people, what I said before, it doesn't work this way. Let's understand, what do you mean it doesn't work this way? What was wrong with the way we said it? אך לא כך הוא חלק ישראל. It's not like this for the Jews. It says it's true, it might be like this for the nations. It might be. If it's not or not, we'll discuss some other time. But for the Jews, for sure it's not.
No, it is for the nation, it is like the...
We'll discuss some other time, it's another class.
You're saying it's...
Yeah. But it says, you might want to say it's good for the...
רואים בכוכבים את המזלות, when they see the...
It's powers, it's the powers of God, yeah.
That's what, okay.
עליהם נאמר, it says now, by a Jew, how is it by a Jew? By a Jew, it's not the mayor who ever, who gives you the money. Ever.
ברור, זה השם.
No, not just as though. It's never the mayor who gives you the money, by Jews. What do you mean? But the mayor is giving it to you. God say go to work. And if you work, you succeed. We'll see soon.
This is the entire Maimonides of Country Samaria.
That's right. כי חלק הוויה עמו, Yaakov Chevel Nachalato. It says because God is with him and Yaakov is part of him. What does it mean? ובמילא כל זמן שלא נתקנח לגמרי הרושם. So all time that you still have the blemish of the bull, let's explain what's the blemish of the bull. Right?
The bull?
Let's explain what's the blemish. See, when Israel is at war, and you know that you need to pray to God to save Israel from whatever is happening, you know God is in charge. There's no question in your mind that God is in charge. Zero. God is in charge, and every believer Jew in the world believes that God is going to take care of the situation. There's not one person in the world who doesn't believe that God is going to take care of the situation. God is in charge, not Putin, not Obama, not Biden. God is in charge. That we know. You know what the problem is? The problem, imagine you're a farmer, right? And as a farmer, you know that nature says you need to water your crop. Right? Nature says you need to water your crop. So you take water and you water your crop. You actually think that the water has something to do with the growth of the vegetable. And no matter how you're going to think about it, you will always think this way. In other words, this is the roshem, this is the blemish of the golden calf. What is it? It says, you can tell yourself, the truth is, the Arizal says a vote. It says, you know what the truth is? The truth is that God commanded for you to water the plant. That's what he commanded you. But you should know that's not what's growth it. In other words, God could as easily have commanded you to water over there and put the plant over there, and the plant would have grown anyway, because you know what? It's the pouring of the water that God told you to do. That's what makes the plant grow. So in other words, the mayor, which is the water, you know, all the tools of God, all the servants of God, are you thinking that they're actually doing something. It says they don't exist. They're only tools. They're an extension of God. There's a hand behind them.
That's part of the reason why we have Shemitah, so for them to understand it's all...
That's right. That's right. But you see, it's easy to do it when it comes to tefillin, when it comes to shul, when it comes to this. In my business, when you told me to go out and to do it in the right way, when you told me to water, and you're telling me that it's not my hard work who's growing...
Much harder.
This is the roshem of the bull. This is what we're talking about. This is what it says. You have to burn the bull completely. Yeah. God is not going. You're not going to connect to God. This is not going to say. Until you burn this impression that you have.
Otherwise, you're going to stay a farmer.
Otherwise, you believe in idol worship. You believe in the water. You don't believe in God. ובזמן שלא נתקנח לגמרי הרושם. This means that the bull is still there, של חטא העגל, of the golden calf. לא הייתה יכולה להיות השראת השכינה בישראל. It says that is the problem. In other words, people trusted God when it came to bring down manna, to feed them. But once God told them, no, you have to go into nature and you have to do stuff. Whoa. See, as long as we are working with miracles, it's God's domain. But now God says to go through nature. When we go through nature, now nature is the boss.
God is not there.
Oh!
We think God
is not there.
Yeah.
And even if God is there, nature also has something to do with it.
Some power.
We think the water does something.
Yeah.
The water doesn't do nothing. It's only because God told you to pour the water, that's why it's growing.
I had to tell you, it's like a doctor. God said, go to the doctor.
Exactly the same. By the way, in the Gemara, since you mentioned a doctor, in the Gemara it says, Hatov shebarofim lagehenom. The best of the doctors goes to hell. And it says for that reason. Because the doctor feels that he is a partner of God. It says, yes, I know, even he's a religious doctor. Okay. And it doesn't matter how religious he is. He can be the most religious guy in the world. Deep down in his mind he says, you know what, but who says that if the guy would have went to a different doctor who's not as knowledgeable as me, he would have been healed? That's why he doesn't realize it's not his medicine who healed it. Yeah. It's because the guy went and it's because you did your best, that's what the guy is healed. He thinks it's the medicine that I came up with, that's what healed the guy. That's exactly what we're talking about.
Exactly.
ועניין זה נפעל ביום השמיני. And it says, and this was done in the 8th day, על ידי הקרבת העגל, when they brought the golden calf, the sacrifice. שכאשר אותו עגל שרצו לעשותו ממוצע, when they took that tool of God, that they thought it was a God, it was part of God, it also is a little bit of godliness. It's a small God. That's what they thought. It's a small mayor. It's not the big mayor. It's not the big kahuna, but it's a small kahuna. נעשה קורבן להשם, and when they burnt it completely, what does it mean, burn it completely? They realized nothing is it's only God over here. Only the reason why it's growing is because God told me to water it. שהתבטל מלהיות בפני מציאות בעצמו ונשרף לשם קדושה, you burn it out of holiness, אזי נתקנח לגמרי הרושם של חטא העגל. Only then the golden calf is taken away completely. And then שרתה השכינה בישראל, במשכן ועל ידו. And then God comes into... And over here, so now the problem isn't... See, when we listen to all these problems, all these stories in the Torah, we have the tabernacle, and you think to yourself, this is stories that happened, once upon a time. Today there's no tabernacles. Well, what is this? So it says it's a message for today's Jew. Exactly like it was a message then. There is no different. What is the message? You think that you have godliness, and you think you don't have an idol worship, you don't have the golden calf. He says you do have the golden calf. In every day, every person who leaves shul in the morning and goes to his business, he's dealing with his golden calf. You know why I succeed in business? Because I'm smart. You know I succeed because I work hard. You know why I succeed in business? Because of this.
I have a big problem with it, Rabbi. I argue with you and I said, no, I worked hard, I worked this, I did that. And you said no. And I couldn't understand it. But now I do.
Oh, but the problem is it's only understanding. In our feelings, it's hard for us to really grasp it. And over here it says that's the impression. The understanding has to be to such an extent, you see it. That you see that there's nothing else besides that. בכל אחד ואחד מישראל, כמו שכתוב, ועשו לי מקדש ושכנתי בתוכם. Like it says, and build for me a tabernacle and I dwell amongst them. בתוכו לא נאמר אלא בתוכם, בתוך כל אחד ואחד, in each and every one of this. So let's look in that. ובזה מובן, so from here we're going to learn, page 10, הלימוד וההוראה ועבודת האדם בנוגע למקדש הפנימי שבתוך כל אחד ואחד מישראל. Now, every Jew has to take a lesson from him. What? שישנו לא רק בזמן הבית, it's not only the time of the tabernacle, אלא גם לאחר חורבן, even now, בזמן הגלות, in the time of exile, שלכן נחשבת מצוות עשיית המקדש למצווה תמידית. This is one of the commandments that it's considered to be a forever commandment. What does it mean a forever commandment? There are some commandments that we did that are not forever. I'll give you an example. Pesach is going to come up soon, right? So on Pesach, they took the blood of the sacrifice and they put it on the doorpost. That is not a forever commandment. It was a commandment for what? For one night. Only for that. And that's it. That's it. Over here, this commandment is forever. It's not just for one time. You cannot say, oh, now, so how do we perform this commandment today? גם כאשר אין אפשרות לקיים המצווה כפשוטה. So it says, let's understand. משכן וכליו, this is deep Kabbalah, deep Tanya, we actually covered it in the Tanya, מורה על כללות העבודה של לימוד התורה וקיום המצוות. Tells us the learning Torah and doing commandments. מצוות שמקיפים, commandments, they are surrounding you, they're not you. What does it mean when we say mitzvot makifim? It's not you. Today you put on tefillin, tomorrow you don't. In a little bit of time you put on tefillin, you don't. It's outside of you, it's external. הם בדגמועת יריעות המשכן. This is like the walls of the tabernacle. ולימוד התורה, so what's לימוד התורה? So it says, ותורתך בתוך מאי. It says, לימוד התורה has to become, real לימוד has to be like digested food. If you just know it in your brain, like you have to think about it, it's not digested. It has to be part of your DNA. It has to be pop in you. הוא בדוגמת הכלים. So let's skip page, go to page 11. It's the same thing. It's just printed it twice. That's why I'm skipping it. דהנה צרכי האדם ההכרחיים נחלקים בכלל לשני סוגים. It says what we need divides into two parts. מזון ולבוש. It says we have food and garments. Where do we see this? כבקשת יעקב. It says, remember when Yaakov was running away from God? ונתן, he asked for two things only. He says, I only need two things. I don't need shelter. Shelter I don't need. But what do I need? ונתן לי לחם לאכול ובגד ללבוש. It says Yaakov asked for food to eat and garments to wear. Now what does that mean? וכמו שלחיי הגוף זקוק האדם למזון תלבושים, just like we're not animals. Animals don't need garments, but human beings need garments in order to survive. So just like the body needs nourishment and garments, כן הוא גם בחייו הרוחניים. This is also in spirituality. אשר זקוק הוא למזון ולבוש רוחניים. Every person needs spiritual food and spiritual garments. כדי שיבואו לשלמותו ויעלה מעלה. In order to be a human being. A human being, naked human being is an animal. That's what we call animals. Barbarians. ויובן עניין מזון ולבוש בחיים הרוחניים, הדרך עניינם בחיים הגשמניים. So we're going to understand just like physical garments, the spiritual garments are the same. How? דהנה, המזונות נותנים חיות וכוח לאדם. The food gives you power. You take the energy out of the food, and now you have energy to live. על ידי שאכול או שותה מאכל ומשקה, when a person eats and drinks, ונהפכים בקרבו להיות דם ובשר כבשרו. They become him. They become his flesh. ומתאחדים עמו בתכלית. In other words, what you eat becomes you. Same thing with Torah. Torah is not just an intellectual thing. If it's not...
And it becomes to be one, that with you.
That's right. You have to really learn it in order to become completely one with it. It has to become part of you. מה שאין כן הלבוש שהוא מקיף את גוף האדם ומגן עליו מקור וחום, but the garment is only protecting you from cold and heat, and it's not you, it doesn't become you, אבל דבר הוא בפני עצמו ואינו מתאחד עם האדם. It doesn't become part of you. וככל הדברים האלה הוא חילוק העיקרי בין תורה למצוות. And this is the difference between Torah and commandments. The Talmud Torah, what are we trying to do when we learn Torah? עניינו הוא להבין ולהשיג הסוגיה שלומד. We're trying to understand it. To understand it to such an ability that we can't think any other way. Yes, in the past I didn't think, but now I can't even think I don't understand what I was thinking even. How could you say the stupidity that I was thinking? I don't even understand. עד שנתפסת בשכלו ומתאחד עמו והיו לאחדים. וזה שנאמר בתורה, ותורתך בתוך מעי. This is what it says, the Torah inside of my innards. In other words, it becomes just like food becomes part of you. The Torah has to become part of you. מה שאין כן במצוות. מצוות are actually almost the opposite. If you do commandments because you understand them, it's a problem. It's a problem. You should understand. But if that's the only reason why you do it, it's a problem. Commandment is not part of you. You do it, why? Because God said so. מה שאין כן במצוות, it's not so in commandments. שאין שייך בהם התאחדות כזו עם האדם. You don't become one completely with the commandment. ואדרבה, שלמות קיומם הוא כשעושה מצווה מפני שהיא גזירת המלך. The real way to do a commandment is because God said so. ולא מפני שתם המצווה ישר בעיניו. Not because I understand it's the right thing to do. That's what a command, that's the whole idea. Commandment. What does it mean command? I do it because I am commanded, not because I understand. ועל ידי עשייתם, and by doing that, המצוות מגינות על האדם ומצילות אותו מכל רם. The commandments protect him. כמו שנאמר, וראיתם אותו ולא תטורו. Just like it says in Tzitzis, you're going to see it, and then you're not going to go after.
You have to remember, I'm not saying, but I know that learn Torah is also a mitzvah. But it's a different mitzvah.
It's a mitzvah that becomes part of you.
Okay.
Regular commandment.
mitzvah.
It's not a mitzvah. זה נקרא מצווה גדולה.
מצווה גדולה.
Yeah, it's a different category.
אבל זה גם מצווה.
Yeah, of course. But it doesn't fall in the same category of regular mitzvahs.
זה regular. Okay.
Yeah? ולכן נקראו המצוות לבושים. And this is why the mitzvahs are called garments. Where do we see in other parts? וכמו שנאמר, this is like it says, ויהושע היה לבוש בגדים צועים. This is not Yehoshua, the famous one. This is Yehoshua, the high priest. It was the high priest later on. In the time of Zechariah, his name was Yehoshua. He says he was wearing dirty clothing. הסירו הבגדים הצועים מעליו. It says you have to take the dirty clothing out of him. ויאמר אליו, ראה, העברתי מעליך עווניך, ואלבש אותך מחלצות. And it says, I took away the dirty clothes of you, the dirty commandments, and I gave you new ones, white ones, better ones. ושם בפירוש רש"י, לפי שדימה העוון לבגדים צועים. The sin was dirty garments. דימה הזכיות למחלצות גויים. So the merit is commandments that the person did. Good commandments, white. Okay. And now we're going to go back to the way a Jew looks at the world. והנה...
Why doesn't he mention ברית בין הבתרים, שהשם אמר, אתם מעל הכוכבים, אמר לאברהם אבינו. אתה לא הולך לכוכבים, אתה הולך...
He's going to exactly not going to bring... He's going to bring... והנה, not your question, but similar in the psychology. והנה, he's going to ask you a question, exactly. ייתכן מצב שיש לי יהודי... It says, this is the condition. What you're asking, the question you're asking is asking now. Mishkan v'kelav. It says, you have Torah. You have mitzvahs. It says you completely. You're a Jew, a religious Jew, a tzaddik. A tzaddik in Torah, a tzaddik in mitzvahs. You still have the golden calf.
Golden calf.
It says, that's the problem. It says, what do you mean? V'gam Moshe ve'Aaron. You have both Moshe and Aaron, that level of Torah and mitzvahs. היהודי עצמו שלומד Torah, you're the Jew that represents by Moshe, right? And the Jew, עניינו של Aaron, and the Jew of Aaron, someone who's doing mitzvahs, shalom, and davening to God, connects to God. You have the Torah Jew and the Aaron Jew, and you're 100%. You still have the problem of the golden calf. How? אבל ביחד עם זה, יש לו מחשבות חוץ. It says, when it comes in trusting in God, you trust God in everything. When it comes to Torah and mitzvahs, you trust God. But when God sends you out into the world, it says, now it's up to you, go work. All of a sudden, the material world becomes real. Those servants of God, all of a sudden become God, small little gods. We start to worship power. Power works. Power works. Well, if I come and I shout, And I come and go, he. You know, shouting works. You can tell me whatever you want. Shouting, we feel it. It says, we don't realize that, no, it wasn't the shouting that worked. You know, it got nothing. This is the problem. This is the problem. This is מחשבות חוץ. This is outside problems. שבצאתו לעסוק בענייני העולם, when we go out into the real world, and who told us to go to the real world? God. He says go out into the real world. אינו יכול להיות בהתאחדות והתקשרות. So we say, God, you know, I can be one with you when I learn Torah. I can be one with you when I learn mitzvahs. But you know what? When I am in my business, it is full of idol worship. You know, there's an old saying in the armies, when the armies used to fight against each other. Yeah? They used to say, you believe in your God, this guy believes in his God. You know who's going to win in the end? The one with the bigger army. You've got your God, but you know who wins? The one with it. And this is what happens when we go out into the world. God goes, go out to the world and fight. All of a sudden fighting. Hey, he says this is what the mistake the Israelis do all the time. Yeah. They says we win the war because we got good planes, because we've got good pilots, because we've got good this. And it's true. God says you should get the best planes. And God says you should say, but you should know that this is only tools. This is only tools. That's the problem. And to feel it, to completely erase that idol worship, that's very, very hard.
You have to burn the olam.
Completely. Very good. ביכולתו לעבוד את השם בשעת התפילה. It's easy to serve God when we daven. בשעת לימוד התורה, at the time we learn Torah. בשעת קיום מצוות, at the time we do commandments. But you want to tell me when I eat and drink, the simple stuff, I eat and drink, now I'm supposed to serve God also? Yes, I can. Me can connect to God by eating and drinking. Maybe on Shabbat, when there's a commandment to enjoy food and drink. But you want to tell me I'm going to give you food and there was no salt in the food. You're not going to add salt? That's what you're asking me to do? That's
crazy.
That's crazy. בעסקו במסחר, when he's going into business, חושבו, ככל הגויים בית ישראל. It says, you know what? You know who succeeds in business? Look. People who work hard succeed in business. People who don't succeed in business.
The harder you work, the luckier you get.
That's right. That's exactly the same. That's the same. שכן אי אפשר לדרוש מיהודי להיות גוי קדוש, גוי אחד בארץ, באותו שעה שנמצא בארץ הגשמיות והחומריות, זה קשה מדי אפילו יהודי. It says, if you tell him, I'll give you miracles, don't worry about it, then I can live with it. I say, what's the difference? I'll work and God is there. But you tell me, no, it's my work who does it. No, if it's my work, exactly, if it's my work, if you're telling me, you just have to put the hours. Don't worry. You put the hours and you don't have to think what's better strategy and what's not better strategy. Then everything from God, then I can trust him. But now you're telling me, no, it's not just think. You have to be involved in your business. You have to think what strategy will work, how to talk to the person, how not to talk to the person, when to be tough, when to be easy. It's your responsibility. So excuse me, if it's not very...
This guy did, not me.
Exactly. This is not God says it's God. This is God. God gives it the power.
It's very difficult.
This is exactly.
Very difficult.
This is what it says. There's no way to connect to God. This is why the Shekhinah doesn't come down to this place. Because the Shekhinah can be in your davening, the Shekhinah can be in your zeal, but the Shekhinah is not going to come down into your business unless this is completely nullified. That was the problem. For 7 days they're trying to be, and who's trying? Moshe and Aaron. These guys are trying, and they can't do it. Imagine us.
And actually, Moshe was the leader there.
Yeah, and it still wasn't working.
Yeah,
and it still wasn't working. And this is after Moshe took the golden calf and grinded it, and because it remained there, and he spread it into you remember, he grinded it and he spread it into the wind, but the material.
Drink, and he killed all the guys that
But
had the Avera.
yeah, but it's still the material is still there. The material, the gold was still on earth.
The dust.
The gold was still on earth. You needed to remove that gold away. That gold shouldn't be there anymore. It doesn't exist anymore. Turn it into something else. I don't know what. ובכן, כל זמן שלא מסירים לגמרי מחשבה כזו, so unless we take this thought away, that it's not me, I'm not involved at all, it's only godliness, יש עגל. That's the golden calf. מציאות בפני עצמה. שכן, because בעסקו בענייני העולם, when a person is dealing with the world, הרי הוא לא אותו מציאות כמו שהוא בשעת התפילה בתורה, and you can see it. A person is one person when he is in shul, is a different person when he's at work. If he's a different person, it means he didn't burn the golden calf. That's it. When he davens to God, he's respectful, and when he talks to somebody else, he's disrespectful, golden calf. That's it. בחשבו שבשעה זו צריך למוצא. And he's saying, you know what? In such a time, I can't. A Jew can't connect directly to God. A Jew can connect directly to God when in those places. But over here it's impossible. Maybe Moshe Rabbeinu can connect. It's not our responsibility. God says, no. Just the same way I wanted Moshe to connect to me, I want you to connect to me not only on the easy parts, also on these parts. Yes, you have to think about it. Yes, it's your business. Yes, you have to be involved. And at the same time, connect with me, just like you connect with tefillin. Just like you connect with the other stuff. כיוון שמצד עצמו אינו יכול להיות בדבקות והתקשרות עם אלוהים. But you're telling God, but I'm a human being. What do you want from me? I need somewhere in between. I need a representative for me over here. I need someone to connect me. I can't connect myself. God says, no, it's your job to connect. I'm not connecting you. You connect. I'm not giving you a Moshe Rabbeinu to connect you or a bull to connect you. You connect. ובמילא גם אם יש לו משכן וכלים וקורבנות, if he also has Torah and mitzvahs and everything, לא יכולה להיות אצלו השראת השכינה. Still, God is not coming down by this person. וכדי שתהיה אצלו השראת השכינה, in order for God to completely come down, צריך הוא איפה לבטל לגמרי המחשבת חוץ. He needs to completely stop thinking this way. הדבר אפשרות של היעדר הדבקות והתקשרות עם אלוקות מצויים. In other words, he has to know in every situation in your life, God has to be there. You're in the bathroom, God has to be there. I'll tell you a story. Just about this. There's in the Magid Mezvich, one time somebody came over to him and he says, look, I have 5 daughters. I was saving a lot of money for their marriage. And it was in my home, and somebody came and took all the money. I've got nothing left.
Stole it.
Everything is gone. He says, please, Rebbe, do something. So the Rebbe says, in this town, go to this address, this is the guy, the thief. Tell him that I know that he took your money. The guy went, knocked on the door. So the thief said, no, not me. So okay, it is me. Here's the money back. And he gave him the money. Now, this thief, but the chutzpaniak, comes to the Magid a couple of days later. And he tells the Magid in Mezvich, I said, I don't understand you.
How dare you?
No, how dare you? Listen. He said, you've got nothing better to do with your life. This is a person who connects to God. Says, you connect to God, I understand. I understand, I know that you connect to God. But you're sick in the head, he's telling the Magid. You connect to God, you ask for the Jewish people, for rain to come, for sustenance to come. You come because of one thief that stole one guy. He says, that's what you're thinking about? That's what you have time to think about? This is exactly what he's talking about. He says, there are times that, this is not for us. God is away from here. God is not involved in every little. So the Magid, by the way, told him, don't worry, I connected the thought of where the money was came to me when I was in the bathroom. So it didn't come to me when I was connecting to God. It came down to me when I was relieving myself. Then I understood the connection came who took it. In other words, in everything there's a connection. Even in the bathroom. It doesn't matter where. There's a rule. So, in a lot of religious people throughout the world, except if you're not a Chassid, what do they do when they go to sleep? They take off their kippah, they put it next to the bedstand, and they go to sleep. By Chabad, there's no such thing. You don't take the kippah, you sleep with the kippah on. Yeah, there's no. Yeah, exactly. You sleep. It's part of you. Exactly. There's no part. That's exactly what he said. There shouldn't be a part of your life where you're not connected to God. When you're eating, when you're drinking, when you're fighting, it doesn't matter what you do. The way you fight has to be in a way that connects you to God. Even that, everything has to be according to it. And you cannot say to God, this is not part of it. That's right. Very good. Very good. ולידע נאמנה, this is what it means, שבכל דרכיך דאהו, in all your ways you should know him. לא רק בשעת התפילה, לימוד התורה וקיום מצוות. Not just when you learn Torah and do commandments, אלא גם בכל דרכיך, במאכלו, במשקו, במשא ומתן, when you eat, you drink, when you do your business. גם בעניינים אלה דאהו. Also in these things, you have to see God, you have to know God. It has to become part of you.
גם פורים שאתה שיקור, by the way.
Very good. דע את אלוקי אביך ועבדהו בלב שלם. It says you should know God. וגם, page 14, בשעת אכילתו ושתייתו, also when you eat, you drink, אינו שוכח, you always remember that no matter what, בנים אתם להשם על כולכם, you're a son of God. וגם בעת המסחר אינו עושה עבודה זרה, also a time of business. There's no idol worship. You don't believe in cutting corners. You don't believe in half the money over the table, half the money under the table. אינו עושה עבודה זרה מהשכל, and you think, you know why I'm succeeding? I am such a... That's right. ההרגש והכוח שלו לומר כוחי ועוצם ידי עשה לי את החיל הזה. It is my intelligence that does all this. בידו, when he knows, this is like we mentioned with the doctor, exactly the same thing. The doctor has to know שהשם אלוקיך הוא נותן לך כוח. ובמילא אין מלבדו. It's not your medicine, it's not your... If the Shem would say, take different medicine and put it in over there, the guy will get healed. He happened to tell you to take this specific one and to give it to him. But that's what heals, not what you're thinking it heals. There's no עבודה זרה over here. Don't believe in idol worship. ואז נעשה אצלו את השראת השכינה. And only then you have God coming down. שכל ענייניו בכל דרכיך נעשים, דירה לא יתברך, בדוגמת הדירה של המשכן המקדש, that God comes down into the person and he connects to God. כך שגם אכילתו ושתייתו בימות החול, so that he's eating and drinking not only on Shabbat, because on Shabbat you're supposed to enjoy food, also in the weekday, היא באופן ששולחנו של אדם מכפר עליו, is a way to connect a person to God. כמו שכל זמן שבית המקדש קיים, מזבח מכפר עליו. The entire time that the temple is there, the altar atones. וגם ביציאתו לרשות הרבים, also when we go out to the public domain. By the way, what's the public domain? רשות הרבים, where there's a lot of idol worships. There's a lot of powers of God, and you can make a mistake. This power, this is a power that gives me money, this is a power that gives me money, this is a power that gives me money. He says, you should know, Hashem tzilcha al yad yaminecha. God is there with you. He's going to help you to see that these are not real powers. They're only tools of God. כך שכל עשיותיו, גם בעניינים הגשמיים, הם באופן ששכינה שורה מעשה ידיו, you recognize that God is everywhere, ובמילא שורה במברכה. And that's why they are blessed. Because you're doing what God said, the best way to your ability, that's the blessing. Not because you're smart, or not because the other things. להסיר את כל המניעות והעיכובים ולהמשיך ברכה והצלחה כפשוטה בבני חיי ומדורי וחסד. To give the person all the goodness of the world.